Hi host families, or should I say future host families. I'm making this video because I get asked, my host moms on groups and other host moms, or should I say future host moms, ask me questions like, oh, should I get an au pair, or should I just get a nanny, or should I just take them to daycare? Like, they want the pros and cons and the true reality of what an au pair is, or just the life of an au pair. So hopefully in today's video, I am going to share some questions and some tips on should you get an au pair or not. It's okay. This has worked for a lot of families in America, in Italy, in France, wherever you can have an au pair. It's worked for a lot of families. However, there are families where it just did not work, and that is absolutely okay. If you're asking yourself this question, I'm going to go through 5 steps and you can answer it for yourself. And then you can gauge from there if you should get an au pair or you shouldn't get an au pair. These are just basic general questions. And I would say dig deeper and find out why maybe you're nervous, or maybe you don't want to host an au pair, or maybe you do want to host a pair. Because let me tell you something, having an au pair is not hard. It's not impossible, but it does require you to take into consideration that somebody else is there, somebody else's emotions, versus like it's not just you, your husband, and your kids anymore. And then also another thing is like having an au pair could either make your process amazing or it could make your process terrible. And so I feel like if you as a host family is great and the au pair is great, then this will be the best decision for you. But if you are great and the au pair is terrible, or if you are terrible and the au pair is great, there can be some friction and tension. So number 1, having an au pair, if you want someone who's reliable, au pairs are definitely it. Meaning, au pairs live in the house. So our cars are not going to be breaking down in the morning. We're not going to just be like, oh, I can't come in and now you have to find somebody else for your kids. Because guess what? We're either upstairs or we're downstairs in our basement. Now, unless we are sick or there's something that really comes up and we're like, I can't really work today, you hardly get that because we are in the house. I would say having an au pair is definitely reliable. You know your kids are going to be picked up from school. You know that your au pair is going to come downstairs and take over the baby when you need to go. They're going to be there on time because they are not stuck in traffic, or they're not going through just like some of the things people go through just to get to work. They're not going to have that because guess what? They're downstairs, they're upstairs. Even if your au pair is running late, you could literally send her a text and be like, hey, I need to go right now. And she's like, okay, leave the baby in the curb for 2 minutes. I'm just in the bathroom doing my business. And you can be like, okay, cool. And you still go. You're not going to be like running late for work because of your au pair. If she's in your house and you're running late for work, then that's a big problem. You guys need to discuss that. Also, before I get to the next tip, I want to just say that having an au pair that's reliable, or just in your house, or having a consistent person in your house, doesn't mean that they're available 24/7. I found that host families, or there'll be some host families that have assumed because, oh, we have an au pair in the house, that means they're available 24/7, and that the au pair doesn't have a life, and so when I just need to jump, the au pair just has to fit in and figure it out and pick up the kids. That's not how it works. There's a whole schedule. There's a lot of things that go into it. You have to discuss and like communicate more with your au pair and give her a schedule. But you know that she's definitely gonna be reliable, and if she needs to be there at 1 o'clock, she's gonna be there at 1 o'clock. Now, I highly say don't think your au pair is going to be available 24/7 because that's where it backfires. Number 2 is, should you get an au pair? If you're someone who doesn't like people in your house, or you just want it to be you, your husband, and your kids, and you don't want anyone in your space or in your thing, and you, not to say you don't want, you get uncomfortable, then maybe this may not be for you. Because au pairs are not like nannies. Nannies go home, unless you have a living nanny. But nannies come, do their job, and they go home. Au pairs are home. Au pairs live with you. And it can be a fun thing. No, au pairs don't want to be around you 24/7. Like, one of the concerns families get is like, when will we ever have free time, just us as a family? Trust me, au pairs are young. Nobody wants to be sitting all the time around kids. We also want to do our free thing. Like my family, we even have this joke where they asked me like, we're going to dinner, do you want to come? And my host mom was like, nope, she clearly doesn't want to hang out. Or like before I even answered, she's like, yeah, it was a long week for her. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to hang out with you guys. You guys can go for dinner. Or I do want to hang out with you guys. I'm like, no, it's fine, I'll still hang out with you guys, whatever. But even when my previous host families would do road trips, they had like a 2-year-old at the time, and road trips with a 2-year-old cannot be fun sometimes. And for somebody who's like a young adult, you got no kids, you're not going to want to be stuck in a car with a 2-year-old crying for road trips. And so when I said no, they understood and they would do it by themselves, whatever. But even when I said yes, I want to come, they were like, okay, more hands. And I'm not saying I'm working, it's just like we tagged along, and they became friends. Like my host moms became my friends, where we talk about stuff, we'd hang out, we talk. And so if you're somebody who is not open to having that in the house, then this may not be for you. Because a lot of host families, well, let me not say a lot. I've seen few host moms or just host dads that are not aware of the shift that comes with having an au pair. For example, like if you're a host dad and you have an au pair, you can't just walk around in your underpants, you know, like the whole day, versus when you had no au pair, you could, you know. And so there's things like that which when the au pair comes, they start to resent the au pair, or they start to get frustrated with the au pair, or they're like, oh, why is she always going out the house, or why is she always in her room, or why is she always around us? And it's like, yo, she has a life, or she wants to spend time with you guys. And so if you're afraid that having someone in the house is gonna be uncomfortable or it's gonna irritate you, then maybe this is not for you. If you're okay with having another person in the house and you're actually excited, because I always look at it as like another set of eyes. And so in my host family's house, there's like the host dad, my host mom, and then they're my eyes. And I always said, like, if there's a corner spot or there's something like my host mom can't do or she can't get to at the time and my host dad can't get to, I am that eyes. I am like her eyes when she's at work. I am her eyes when she's away. I'm her eyes when, like, if there's things where she's like, she's busy and she has great intentions of getting it done, but it slipped her mind because she's so busy at work. I'm just like, hey, he needs food, I'm gonna buy it, I have a bag. Or, oh, he's not feeling well, I'm just gonna take him to his doctor. And like, obviously we're communicating, we texting back and forth, but it's just like those things where it's like, if you're okay with having that communication and you're okay with having somebody in the house that you trust, because my host mom trusts me solely to make decisions with my host kid, as long as it's to protect him and keep him safe, and you know, even with his activities or chores, whatever, because she knows she's hired me to be a set of eyes when she's not around. I'm not replacing her at all, I'm just here to come alongside and help her. And so whether that's with food, that's with whatever, I'll be at the grocery store and I'm like, do you guys need anything in the house? So it's just stuff like this. If you're okay with having somebody like that, then this is gonna be great for you. If you're okay with building relationships with other young females, or you're just okay with like communicating, this is gonna be amazing for you, because you'll learn about cultures. Like we'll sit for hours talking about different cultures and like dating and all these things. Versus like if you just want it to be you, your family, and your kids, and you don't want to do all that, you just want them to come, do their job, and go, then this may not be for you, because it's a cultural exchange and you're gonna have to expose her to some of your culture and you're gonna have to learn some of her culture. And so if that doesn't entice you, or that's just like then I don't think this is gonna be for you, because you could get an au pair that wants to speak to you about your culture and you just don't want to. You're like, listen, this is a job, do what you need to do and leave. But she can't leave because she's going to her room. Number 3 it's a simple one, but I put it in here because I just want to make it clear that both parties have to do this. So you and everyone else who's an adult in your house has to get a criminal check, and it has to be like you have to pass it. So if you pass it, but let's say your spouse doesn't pass it, you can't. Don't even bother trying to get an au pair. Or let's say 2 of you pass it, but there's somebody else, like a grandparent or an uncle living in the house, and they fail it. Agencies are not going to put the safety of an au pair in your presence, because we're coming from other countries and we ourselves have to do criminal checks in our other countries, because it's the same way you wouldn't put a criminal to look after your kids. It's the same thing how agencies wouldn't put an au pair in a house. Not even a criminal, I wouldn't even say that. You just have to pass a background check, and if you don't pass a background check, you shouldn't even just try apply, because with au pairs, if you don't pass a background check and you don't pass a criminal check, then you can't become an au pair. And so this is just basic because I see people trying to cut their system or trying to, and it's like, no, if au pairs can't become au pairs, and like you can't expose an au pair to something that could potentially harm her. And then number 4 is simple. You and your husband or your wife or the people trying to get an au pair have to both be legal citizens in the country, meaning you either have to be like born in the US if you're in the US, or you have a legal visa or a legal green card or something to legally say that you're in the country. And so I feel like if you're still in the process of changing visas, or maybe you not sure, like you still, they call it an alien, like I'm an alien, I don't think I can get an au pair. I don't think an au pair, I think a nanny would be better. Let's say if I had to have kids, a nanny would be better. But if you're a US citizen, or like you have a green card or those kind of things, I think if you have a work visa too, you can actually get it, and your company can get it for you, or you can get an au pair. I stand to be corrected on that one. Those are other reasons that could either hinder you from getting an au pair, or just you could still get an au pair. My last one, number 5. I would say with this one, it's more of a materialistic factor. So if you are able to provide a private room, meaning when an au pair lives with you, they need to have their own room with a door, and it must be fully furnished. So in the room, there needs to be a bed, there needs to be space for their clothes, there needs to be blankets, there need to be hangers, there needs to be stuff in a room that would be for like a kid or a teenager, or for you, for example. So if you can provide that, then you should get an au pair if you want. You need to be able to provide that. So if you can't provide that, then I don't think an au pair would be for you. And then another thing is, if you be able to pay the agency fee, the stipend to the au pair weekly, and provide 3 meals. It is ridiculous how many au pairs, like honestly, this part makes me so angry, because you sign an agreement with the government, and there are so many au pairs that actually starve because host families do not feed them. And so if you are thinking of becoming a host family, please, I beg you, do not starve your au pair, because they get paid a stipend weekly. Most of them are not taking that small change that they make and buying groceries and food to eat. Whereas legally, you have to feed them 3 times a day. We're not saying feed them caviar and all these things. That's not what we're saying. It's just saying feed the au pairs. And so if you can't afford the 3 meals a day, don't get an au pair. Don't bring somebody else to starve here. Do not get an au pair if you can't provide meals for them, if you're not going to be able to pay their stipend on time. And then if your kids travel to school by car, you're going to need to be able to provide a car. Some families make the au pair and them share the car. Some host families get an extra car specifically for the au pair to drop their kids off and take their kids to school, that whole thing. And so this is like the materialistic financial factor. If you can't provide these things, especially with the room and the food, I do not think you should get an au pair, because it's just unfair. And you shouldn't lie and say, oh, you use your kids' room and say this is going to be the au pair's room, and then when the au pair comes, you put like a dungeon, or not even a, I won't say a dungeon, but there's been people who have lied with rooms, and then when the au pair comes, they've taken, like, let's say it was once a storage room, they cleaned it up, put a bed, a pillow, not even like effort, and it's like no lining comes in there, nothing, and the LTC doesn't even know that that's the room, like, you know, because when you get an au pair, LTCs need to see the room and make sure it's like safety hazard, whatever. But people become so desperate to just get an au pair and get sitting, because it is cheap to get an au pair. But do not, I beg you, do not bring somebody else's child here to starve. You rather not get an au pair and figure out, there's so many nannies in this country or in other countries that will gladly look after your kids. They don't have to pay for transport and all these things, because au pairs also pay a lot of money to come here. And it breaks my heart how many au pairs starve. Like, it's the craziest thing. And so that is it. This is most of the questions I would say ask yourself and gauge from there if you should get an au pair or should you not get an au pair. Another thing is, like, I know with my host family, they were nervous about the hours, because my maximum hours is 45 hours. I mean, the maximum hours for an au pair in America is 45 hours a week. And my host mom was saying she was a bit nervous that they were going to go over the hours, because So her schedule, my host dad's schedule at the time in this whole thing, and she was like, oh my gosh, so she had like backup plans trying to figure out. And funny enough, I've never really, well, in the pandemic I think I've gone over like an hour or two, but even still they like apologize, and there was situations out of their control, like stuck in traffic, those situations. But I've never actually I feel like I've never actually really worked my full 45 hours, or just like when they got here, we communicated. So there are things where if you just communicate, and because I actually like my host family, they're great to me, we communicate, and they like, you know. And so when you decide, or if you do decide to get an au pair, and there's certain things like during the interview process, ask every single question. I actually have a video, should be up next week, and that video I'm actually going to talk about questions host families should ask au pairs. If you want the PDF, I made a PDF with all the questions. It's as detailed as possible. I highly suggest asking all the questions you can ask, because you rather be safe than sorry. Hey y'all, thank you so much for watching this video. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.